building a relationship, having good people, bringing value, people are going to keep coming back if you follow up and remind them. That's the hub of a business. All right. Now roll.
Perfect. All right, everybody. Welcome to the Start to Scale podcast by Gilder. I'm your host, Tyga, and we have a very exciting guest today. His name is Steve Ramona. He's a podcaster. He's a TV host, but he's a very eclectic human being. As I was looking at his background, and he started his career in fitness, which is a very interesting background to go from fitness all the way to being, TV host, podcaster, and also you have your own community of business execs and founders as well. So I'd love to dive into all of that. But Steve, if you can let our listeners know from your perspective, a quick background introduction to yourself, that'd be great.
Thank you very much, Tyga. Thanks for having me on. This is such a great opportunity. And it's always great to speak to people and hopefully impact them, inspire them, motivate them, or educate them, whatever, all three, all four, whatever we do. Yeah, I started 18 years old in the fitness industry. I got out of high school, was going to go play community college football, and my family launched this health club. My cousin, Jeff, who was the president, said, hey, why don't you come, work the front desk, make some money. I'm like, I didn't have a job. Yeah, it's summertime. I want to go out with my friends and do all that. So I started working there, and it was a huge blessing. Being 18, 19 and starting meeting 40, 50, 60-year-olds. Kind of like our scenario, Tyga. It's a perfect example. I'm 64. You're in your 30s. We'll just say that. But I could teach you some things that I've learned all this time, 30, 40 years in business. Well, that's what happened to me when I was 18, 19, is I'd be checking people and, hey, have a great workout, Joe. Hey, Tony, have a great workout. Hey, Tony, have a great day. Being cordial, customer service oriented. But those conversations changed to, Tony, how was your vacation in Bali? Hey, Jim, did you get that big client you were talking about? Became friends. You could see how the change in that conversation, and I started connecting and building a network I didn't even know I was doing. And a quick story in the health club, Tony, little short Italian financial advisor, doing really well, working with multimillionaires. He came in and threw me a book. He called me kid. Hey, kid, read this book. I said, okay, I'm coming back Tuesday. You got to tell me all about what the book's about. And he came back and came in and asked me, so did you read a book? I said, yeah, it was 60 pages. Thank God, being 19. I don't know how much I was going to read, but I knew I wanted to make sure I did what he told me, which is a lesson in itself. And he said, so what'd you get from the book? It's called The Wealthy Barber. It's still out today. What it's saying is take 10% of your income and put it away. Don't touch it. Build that savings account that you never, ever use. And this is what started my journey connecting. 10 years later, I looked at it. Tony had left the health club, was retired, had $68,000 in that account. Think about 28, 29 years old, and you had $68,000 in your bank account that grew. Well, of course, I blew probably $8,000 and went to vacation, did what a 28-year-old does. I didn't spend it all, but I did call Tony and thanked him and said, how much do I owe you? And this is a lesson that I learned, Tyga, that was valuable. He said, Steve, I'm retired, first of all, so I wouldn't take your money, but I gave you some advice and you ran with it and you grew, and look what happened. The universe paid me back by bringing people into my life, into my business, that allowed me to retire with money, with abundance. And that's how it works with life. You take care of people, not just transactional, but transforming, and good things happen. So I had $68,000. He's a multimillionaire, retired, enjoying retirement. You think we're both happy? Absolutely. And I got off the phone, Tyga, and I went, wow, this is unbelievable. And I had already built a network because the health club, we had 2,000 or 3,000 people come in every day, and I was there all day. So I had this wide network, and a joke they used to say, Tyga, if they say, Stevie, you ever got married, you'd have to rent out the Candlestick Park where the 49ers play because thousands of people. I never did, of course. But I'd go out with my friends to dinner and lunch, and guys would be coming up. They go, how do you know him? Oh, he's a member of the club. Oh, he's a member of the club. And these are older guys. I'm with my 20-year-old friends. And the power of this and what I've learned has got me where I am today.
Those are, one, that's an incredible story. Two, I couldn't agree more. That's actually a question that I have, and I'll kind of preface this question with one thing. So, one of our kind of top quality members within Gilder, his name's Fritz Landman. He's the CEO of ClassPass and MindBody, a huge fitness and wellness startup. I actually met him back home in Missoula, Montana, in my CrossFit gym, and I was going to workouts at 6:30 in the morning, seeing him grind and hustle. And there's something about sweating with someone else, working out with someone else, is where you really build a bond and relationship with someone. And so I was actually just going to ask, what is it about a gym that's so good at networking? I think you meet so many amazing people in a gym. Not only that I've met Fritz Landman, I've met Daniel Carney, I've met a bunch of other people in the CrossFit gym and my Taekwondo gym as well, meeting all these amazing, um, hardworking people and individuals. Is it maybe something that going to the gym, they're just, people have grit, people are wanting to be healthy, people are wanting to improve themselves? What is it about a gym environment that makes it so good for networking?
Well, that's part of it, Tyga, and a great question. I've done 300 shows. That's you're the first person to ask this question, and I'm pretty pumped because you go to church. I go to church every Sunday. Well, I built relationships there. I've actually connected a guy with another lady to help build this business. Not always for me. It's when you go to the same place, seeing the same people, like I did at the front desk of the gym, you just on the other side, going and working out at the same time. You see the same people. Like when I go work out, I see the same people. You're not going to connect with all of them, but it's that repetitive connecting. So let's use a marriage. You have a boyfriend and girlfriend. They're together, right? Well, they go on a number of dates, whatever number that is, before they're married. Well, that's what you're doing when you're going to the gym. That's what I do when I go to church. That's what I do when somebody goes to a book club. You're seeing the same people over again. What happens is, how you doing, Tiger, today? I'm struggling. I'm looking for this. Well, you know what? Let me introduce you to so-and-so. Hey, here's a resource. We do it in our personal lives all the time. We go to the grocery store at the same time. We see the same, hey, good seeing you. It's happening around us all the time, but we forget to ask, connect, and bring value. Now, people go, well, I see somebody at the grocery store. What do you mean bring value? Hey, your baby's got a beautiful bow on her hair. She's gorgeous. Did I just impact that mom or dad or both? Absolutely. My wife kind of elbows me. He's like, she's used to it now. But I do it all the time. I'm looking at ways to edify people. Now, the gym is great. That's why I keep going, because it's such a positive environment, because you're trying to get healthier or are healthy and want to stay healthy. So it's a great place to meet people, but you open up really Pandora's box that anywhere you go, there's multiple people showing up at the same time that you're seeing, you're naturally building a relationship.
That's incredible. And so after your time at the gym, you're building connections. What was so what did you transpire and evolve and you, it sounds like from the gym you started into, I'm assuming, business. What was kind of your career after the gym?
Well, this is a powerful question, because this is what's changed my life. 20 years at the gym, from 22, 79, 78 to 2000, we sold. It's a lot of time. It was a time to sell. And the deal was just too good to pass up. But my problem, Tyga, was I've been in a health club 20 years, no resume. I'm not going to walk. I'm in Silicon Valley, and I can walk. I don't have a degree. I didn't have any of that. I didn't finish college. I played 1 year of football, and then I left. But here's the power of connecting. So I'm sitting at home watching Oprah, trying to figure out my life. I remember laying on the floor for 3 or 4 months doing nothing. And that's not good. If you're doing that, get out of it. Well, here's the power, the blessing for me. Jim calls me, and Jim says he's a member of the club. My connection I built growing is I started with. He goes, I'm launching a restaurant. I'd love for you to come work for me. I'm like, Jim, I know nothing about a restaurant. We were sitting at a restaurant, having a little a drink, I think, or whatever we were doing at a bar, having little appetizers. He goes, I'll teach you everything. Why don't you help me launch this restaurant? Well, what he was doing was he knew all the people I knew. In the back of his head, I was thinking, I like Steve, so I've built a great relationship, like you can do in business. He trusts me to come and help him. And we came into this restaurant within 6 months. We were the fastest growing restaurant. Do you know how I did that?
Networks and networking and connections from the gym.
checkbox. You're the first first person to ever get that. Because I just reached out to the network I built in the health club, and this is powerful. And said, guys, I'm working at this restaurant. Here's where it is. I'd love you to come see me. And people come in to see me because what did I do? I built relationships. Not everybody. I probably met thousands of people, but enough people that they would come in and eat. And then I was like, Jim, I'm going to start doing a newsletter every Monday. This is back in 2003, 23 years ago. God, that's a long time. And I started sending email out every Monday. Here's our specials. It was a fish restaurant. Here's our specials for the week. And people started coming in because it reminded them Steve's there, Jim's there, there's good food there. So building a relationship, having good people, bringing value, people are going to keep coming back if you follow up and remind them. That's the hub of a business. And, we were killing it. Excuse the language, but we were just Thursday, Friday, Saturday, we were busy. It was a small place, but I'd be out there cooking and I could see everybody. It was like my stage. It was so much fun. Probably why I'm podcasting now, because that's what I'm doing now, podcasting. So it led to that. And that's the power of building your network. Now, it takes time. It took me 10 years. It won't take you 10 years now, especially how I teach you. But yeah, it can be done by anybody.
Absolutely. And for those who are listening, I think a lot of people maybe sometimes have a difficult time networking, talking to, you know, maybe heavy hitter folks when they're in the gym or they're on the go or they're at the restaurant. How can you easily, bump shoulders with someone and have a good conversation with someone to make it seem like it's, of course, natural and organic without pushing them to, think that you're trying to get something out of the relationship, if that makes sense? How can you
It
have that
makes it
genuine conversation?
It's a great question. In 10 years, you're going to be a multimillionaire, Tyga. You get this because it's questions. Questions. Everybody's going to answer a question most of the time. And I have a principle I developed called the ASLA principle. I love saying it because it cracks me up. ASLA. Ask the question, shut up, listen actively, and ask another question. Let's use the gym. You're at the gym. You see Joe Smith there all the time. And you go up to Joe. Hey, can I ask you a quick question? No, most people are going to say, yeah. They may go, I'm too busy. No. But if they don't, next. But you ask them a question. Hey, I saw you doing your curls for your biceps. You do a certain angle. Why do you do that? Oh, I do it because it hits my muscle this way. And, he answers the question. You just start developing a relationship because you're willing to get value from him. You edified him, you made him the expert, and you gave him a gift. So ask those questions. I tell people, ask.
Yeah, and I think, yeah, sometimes it's just as simple as just the context and understanding what they're doing and just asking something around it. I love that. I love that acronym. You said it's ASLA,
That
ASLA,
ASLA principle.
ASLA. I'm gonna put that in the show notes because I think that's incredible.
I would love to. Yeah, it's, and again, my podcast, I'm going to get into that later, is one of my guests came up with that acronym because I was telling him, I goes, you ask, shut up, listen, ask. So I give Jeffrey Lackey, shout out to him for for me coming up with the idea, but me giving it a label to it or whatever, words to it, because it's worked. It's making me millions, literally millions of dollars. And I don't say that to pat myself on the back. I do because I'm doing the ASLA principle. And I know when you have abundance, I can help others. And that's the most exciting thing about making money like that. But I'm no different than anybody else. My special skill was the ask. Ask that question. Would you like to be on my podcast?
Love it.
I'm going to add a quick story. Lee Steinberg just had him on my show. He's the Jerry Maguire movie. He's one of the top NFL agents. He had been on my show 2 years ago. I reached out. The ask. This is a big hitter. He's very successful financially. He knows, I think he's had 3 or 4 NFL Hall of Famers in his client base. That's huge. This guy's big. And I reached out and said, you haven't been on my podcast for a while. I'd love for you to be on. He comes right away, 5 minutes on the email. I would love to. I just launched a book about my alcoholism, and it was a great podcast. Now, people go, what would you do if he said no? In my head, Tyga, I say next. Lee's not ready. Who's the next person that I can have on my?
Yeah, that's incredible. Going back to your career and in the restaurant business, because I know the restaurant business in general is one of the most difficult businesses to jump into. So you made it work from the connections that you've built in 20 years working in the gym industry. How how did you come up with a newsletter? Because that's before social media, that's before Beehive and all the newsletter products. How did that conceptualize in your head that this is something that's important, that I need to start a newsletter, I need to grow this restaurant? How did you structure that? Because again, restaurant business is so difficult.
It was, it is. Thank God we only did night. We didn't do breakfast or lunch, which helped because I was going to San Jose State University College to try to get a degree at the time. So, I was going to school in the morning, then working at night. You know, he's ever asked me that question. And to think back, I think a customer said something about, hey, what's your specials the next week? So I don't know. And then I think I walked away and went, well, why not just have people start writing their emails down on a pad of paper? Would you like to know our specials? That's all it said. Put your name and email. And I started telling people, here, sign up for this and I'll email you. I'm always, and this is powerful, audience, always thinking of ways of bringing value. How I can be transformational, not transactional. Now, yes, sending that email out, I was transforming and giving them, but they still have the choice to transact with us, meaning coming and eat and paying for it. Well, that came because I took care of them the last time we were there. And this week they're like, hey, we want to have pasta canova, which is a salmon dish. I haven't had it in a while. I'm going to come in. But if they forget about you, a couple of things. If they forget about you, they'll never come in. If you treat them bad, they'll never come back. And three, if you aren't a good person and somebody people want to be around, they're not going to come back. But that's any business, whether it's the restaurant business, the coaching business, CPA business, it doesn't matter. That's pretty universal.
Where did you learn these principles of, because you have really amazing energy, and I can just tell on this podcast conversation, the first time that I met you a couple weeks ago, I can just tell you that you have a unique sort of energy and kind of philosophy of attracting people to you. Where did you come up with all these principles? Was it natural, or did you have your family in, teach that to you in your adolescence when you were growing up? Because these are all amazing, amazing principles.
Well, I'd love to lie and say it was natural, but it wasn't. I mean, I think I was a pretty good person at 18, 19. I had a lot of friends. But my cousin Jeff Ramona taught me this, taught that we want to be a health club, that we're going to serve people, keep customer service. And here's a great story. Audience, this is going to be great for an entrepreneur or your $1 billion business. So we used to tell all of the front desk staff, say people's names. And they come to us legitimately going, Steve, I meet 200, 300 people. I see them maybe once a week or twice a week. I can't remember all these names. My cousin goes to me, he says, Steve, just have them when they slide their card in and check in, like we all do now. We use our phones. And I go to my gym, you go to your gym, there's a screen in front of them. What does it say? It says Tyga's name. I recognize, hey, Tyga, have a great workout. Half the people when I start, I don't remember their names. I just look on the screen. Now, people don't have a screen? Just ask. Tyga, I met you a couple of months ago. Man, it was so great to help you out with your YouTube channel. What was your name again? I've never, tell me I'm an a-hole, walk away and tell somebody else what an a-hole because I forgot somebody's name. I used to worry about that a lot. Like, I got all these people's names. I'm pretty good at it. But just be honest and vulnerable and just say, hey, I'm sorry, I forgot your name. And if they get upset, next. Audience, I'm always saying next in my head because it's not a fit, and that's great. Not a fit for them. I'm not a fit. They're not a fit for me. I'm not a fit for them. And that's the greatest thing in the world because you go find somebody you can impact because we can't impact everybody.
So going back, so you're going to San Jose State University, you're running the restaurant. I'm sure your schedule was packed. how was, an average week like for you, and how did you manage it all?
Being single helped a lot. First of all, I was single. I lived alone for 30 years. I had a duplex and I didn't live alone. I was lonely, but I just lived alone because and it was great for me because working in a health club, I'm talking to thousands of people every day. And it got hard. My best friend, my best man at my wedding just a few years ago, Mike, love him to death, Mike Sullivan. And we lived together for a while before I lived on my own when he left. He got married. And he used to come home and start telling me stories because he'd meet 3 or 4 doctors selling drugs to them. He was a drug pharmacist, pharmaceutical sales. Well, I met 1,000 people. I've talked to so many people. I just sit on a couch and just nod my head. On my head. And one day he goes, Steve, you don't want to talk right now. I said, give me an hour or two. Let me decompress. We're good. And we did. We'd go out and do all that stuff. It was a lesson, too, about learning about people. That's why when you ask questions, let's go back to the ASLA, you can learn about people. He asked that to me, which I love him to death. Like, you're not, bothered's not the right word, but you're distracted. I said, yeah, I just want to rest. And it just leads to building those relationships. Why do you have best friends? Why do you have girlfriends, wives, boyfriends, husbands, cousins that you're close to and other cousins you're not? Just because it's family, I'm going to be very honest with you, doesn't mean that you're going to be close. That's okay because we're all human. But as you build relationships in business, you build yourself.
I love that, and I couldn't agree more. I think relationships are honestly the most important thing that we have in this life. There's nothing else that's more important, and I'm calling out of Latin America, and that's kind of not a culture shock, but something that I've noticed here in LATAM is that their family and their relationships are the center of their world. And it seems like, not to talk, I love America too, but it seems like in the States it's more focused on maybe, you know, building wealth, career stuff, job stuff. It's not really like your family and your relationship are at the center. And so I really like that mentality of relationships are everything. Um, to go back to, your career, what did you do after the restaurant business? You started building that up. Is that restaurant still in business? And what is it called, if you don't mind me asking? I'd love to.
It was called Sharky's. It's not in business anymore. He had to close it. Some things happened. But then again, my journey continued the same path. I stayed on the same freeway, but on a different lane now. It's when I look at my journey. Because then I was selling stuff on eBay and doing some entrepreneurial stuff. And I ran into this guy. He was recycling computers and electronics. Because in California, it was a big thing. And there still is. There's so much of it out there and people are still doing it. And he said, like, hey, let's partner up and let's do this business together. So I launched another business, Earth Care Recycling. And we recycled TVs. And he eventually left after 5 or 6 months. It wasn't a fit. It was too much work for what he wanted to do, which is fine. And we separated. But what did I do, Tiger, with that business? You know the answer now.
Did you built it up?
Yeah.
Did you
6
exit it?
figures.
Wow. Incredible.
6 months to 8 months. But I went back to all the health club people who were still connected with me. Now all the new people I met at the restaurant. And since I was the owner, I had 2 employees. So it was a company. I would reach out to people. Hey, I started a recycling company. If you need your computer electronics, we'll come pick it up for free, or you can drop it off. And we did a lot of stuff for free. But going back to the value, you're going to love this, Tyga. I was thinking one day in my office, like, we're doing well, but how can I give back? I'm like, why don't I go to schools and run a recycling fundraiser? In the parking lot on a Saturday for 8 hours, have people drop it off, all those parents at the elementary schools, at the high schools. We even did a college. It was amazing writing $2,500, $2K, $2,500 checks to the school, but also getting that stuff and recycling it, all that computers and electronics properly. So another value add to my company, and companies started copying me. I started seeing other events going on, which is great. When they're copying you, it's like Apple says, you can make all the phones in the world, but we're Apple. And it's true. So that thing blew up 6 figures. We're doing well. Eventually 2013, we had to close because the government was paying us and they changed how they were paying. And, the government was saying, hey, you're making way too much money. Like, come on, doing all the work, but that's okay. It was a great lesson. And the lesson I learned is at the end, I went to my dad, who passed in 17, but was my best friend, major business owner, millions of dollars. And I said him, and then went to Jeff, who were both my mentors. And I reached out and said, guys, what do I do? The checks are coming less and the money's not coming in. You got to close the business. I said, I can't. Again, my servant's heart, where it was wrong this time. It's like I got two employees. I can't leave them hanging. And they said, both said the one thing that changed my mind. They said, Steve, would you like to stop now or come to a point where you can't even write them a check? That they do work and you can't pay them because you're not making enough money. They'll find a job. And 3 months later, we closed the company. 3 months later, they found a job. Mentorship is just huge. It changed a life for me because I was stressing about it. And, of course, I like the money. We were doing well. All my customers, that's the other nice thing about it. They'll find somebody else. Yeah, you've taken care of them. But again, if you're not making the money, you can't keep the business afloat. You shouldn't be in a deficit to serve people. So it was a great time to get out.
And, just for a lot of entrepreneurs, we have entrepreneurs of all stage, but a lot of early stage founders. And kind of to piggyback off of that story, when do you know it's a good time to exit out of a business?
Are you serving your clients, your employees properly? Do you have enough money to pay them? Do you have enough money to pay your expenses, your payroll tax, your lights, your bill, all those bills? Are you paying them and still have money in the bank and you don't have a safety net? If you're running, every check you got is paying bills, you can't run a business that way. Going to be in trouble eventually. Because like what happened to me, checks either came less or the government would say, sorry, I can't send you this $5,000 check. I'm like, what? I've done all the work already. Sorry, we're not going to send you the check. So you're in that type of situation, and I would talk to somebody. I wouldn't make that decision on your own. I would reach out to a mentor or an expert in business, because there are times to close a business, and mine was exactly a time to close it.
Got it. So your whole entire career has been, going from the gym, starting a restaurant business, starting the recycling business. When you were younger, did you always think you were going to be so entrepreneurial?
I think so, because my dad was. My dad was a building contractor, one of the biggest in my area. He worked a lot. Back then, 80-hour work weeks were a badge of honor. They're not now. You should never do that. But, 60s and 70s, that's what they did. And my dad wanted to take care of our family, and he did very well. But I watched him, because I'd go play golf with him, and he'd play golf with all his vendors and, all the people he worked with and the fun they had. I'm like, he would take, half a Thursday off. Here's a guy working 80 hours a week, 60 hours a week, whatever. But he'd take that Thursday. We were Italian. We had Italian guys got together and played golf. And when I was old enough, I'd go play and sit, and they'd play Pedro and just have fun. But they're also doing business. But in a way that's comfortable, because it was less stress. Now, the golf was stress. He's a bunch of Italians screaming and swearing. They went crazy. But that was made them comfortable. But I loved that. I loved that my dad would take a Thursday and we'd go watch. At the time, we'd sneak into 2 or 3 movies. My wife just reminded me of that last couple of weeks ago. I'm a big fan of movies because of that. But he'd go, and I would do that with the health club. I'd go, hey, Jeff, I'm going to take Thursday off. And we'd hang out for 3 hours, eat, and watch movies, and built our relationship. We got even closer. So I love that lifestyle.
It's a great lifestyle. And I always think that you can still do business golf is notorious for being one of the best sports to be talking, negotiating, having a good time, understanding who people are and reacting to as well with if they make it in a hole or not.
Yeah.
I love that story. So after, 2013, you had to close down. You said it was called Earth Recycling.
Earth Care Recycling. Yeah.
Earth Care Recycling. You had to close that down. What was after that? You changed lanes? And what was kind of your main focus after all these entrepreneurial endeavors?
So I got hooked on network marketing, thinking I have this large network, and did 8 or 10 different businesses. And it was a great learning experience, great entrepreneurial solopreneur experience because it was just my business, reaching out, doing presentations, selling, and doing all that. And, there are times I'd speak to 50, 100 people, inspire them, educate them, doing kind of a podcast back then, but it was just live in person with a bunch of people. It was great. The model's great. I'm probably going to get beat up for this, but it's a little broken because we don't teach people in network marketing that it's a business. That guy, I remember going to meetings and this guy's got a $5,000 suit showing me his island that he owns and his Lamborghini. And everybody there is never going to get that. Maybe less than 1%. Let's just be fair. It's a business, and like entrepreneurs now, you're an entrepreneur. We have a business to run, and there's a way to do that. And the companies, at least the companies I with, don't teach. And I've been involved in 10 years, so hopefully it's changed. But it really taught me how to run my own business because the other businesses, I had employees, I had a boss. This was all my own. If I did it right, I'd be great. If I didn't do it right, I'd lose, I wouldn't make any money. So it really gave me, and I would do it all over again because of the lessons I learned.
Amazing. How did you get into podcasting, being a TV host? How did you get into media? You also just, I can tell just from this, 30-minute conversation that we've had so far, you're very comfortable in front of the camera. You're very comfortable in front of the mic. How did you get into it, and how did you become so comfortable in front of the camera, in front of the mic?
Well, I wasn't before introverts listening. They're afraid to be in front of the camera. I never was in front of a camera. I didn't have a lot of my what's the word was I was self-aware, but I didn't have a lot of confidence. That's the word. Just didn't. Even though I met all these people, would help them out, do things, because that was easy for me. But when it came to promoting myself, I was not good at it. And I didn't enjoy it. I'm thinking, hey, Tiger, let me serve you like I did a few months, a week, whatever it was. Let me serve you. And I'd walk away and go, oh, I'm good. Like you'd ask me, hey, Steve, how can I help you? Well, 5 years ago, I put my hand up like this, go, Tiger, I'm good. Enjoy those introductions or enjoy those tips. And a guy taught me this, and this is a big lesson for you to listen out there, is he served everybody he made, his competitors, prospects, everybody. He made $250 million a year. Massive company. And when I told him my story that I just told you, he went, stop. I just met the guy, but he was a really good guy. I forget his name. It's been a while. But he said, stop. First, don't put your hands up like that because you just blocked people off. So don't do that language or that movement in person or on virtual. But here's the problem, Steve. You just gave Tyga a gift. You gave him some tips on YouTube. He wants to return the favor. When you say, I'm good, I don't need it, and you don't have to use those words, subconsciously you're not thinking I'm an a-hole, but you're like, man, he really helped me out. He's not letting me help him out. I turned you into a taker. And he said that to me. You're turning those people into takers subconsciously, which is the worst thing you can do. Consciously, you'll forget about it. But who knows when they meet other people down the road going, I'm not going to remember Steve because he wouldn't let me help them. And once I flipped that switch, holy moly, that's where the ASLA principle, I ask all the time. I have an answer. What are you looking for? I'm looking for this, this, and this. I just did this morning with a group of ladies. Boom, 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 boom. Now, 5 years ago, I wouldn't do that. I'm like, oh, I'm good. Because when you serve people and you bring them value, you transform them, that opportunity door flies wide open. Like you kick the door in a movie. I love mob movies. And the guy kicks the door in, that's what you're doing when you're bringing value. And you just ask. No worry about the outcome. A lot of times people go, I can't help you. I don't know people in that. No problem. If you do, great. Let me know. Now I've sufficed that, not turn them into takers. I gave them an opportunity to serve me as much as I've served them. If you get that lesson, audience, you'll double your income this year. Literally, double your income.
I love all these lessons. And to go off of that, you know, at some people kind of, I should phrase this, like, people that, they get older, they get into a more senior position, they think they know it all, and you said 4 years ago you wouldn't use the ASLA principle. Now you're using the ASLA principle all the time, you're asking, and so with that, what does it mean to you to be a lifelong learner, to always be improving yourself at any age, every single day you're getting better and better? What does it mean to you to be a lifelong learner?
Wasn't for a long time. Took 3 years ago is when I started reading. I watch videos of very successful people every morning is my ritual. Darren Hardy, I get, and if people are interested, he does a free video every morning about business and success. It allows me to grow. That's obvious, right, Tyga? You teach me something, Darren Hardy teaches me something, Tony Robbins, whoever it is, I read something, that's great. But here's the power from a servant standpoint. I don't know if a lot of people get this. Every time I learn something, I get to share it with somebody else to serve them, to transform them. And I'm going to use you as an example because this is real life. I met your friend, your business partner, Michael, showed him some things on YouTube, some tips I learned from somebody else. By the way, the guy's much younger than me, and he taught me this stuff. So he was 34, I'm 64. I was willing to listen. I'm like, this is great stuff. I'm taking notes. And then Michael sends an email, says, I would like to have you talk to Tyga and show him. And I showed you. Taking what, I can pictures, can't think of his name. Doesn't matter, but he knows who he is, who taught me this. Now I can share it with you. And then you get your other partner on another meeting with me to share it with him. Now we're joined together. Is that not building a relationship or not?
100%. I mean, just because of us being curious, and I guess it stems from you learning originally from that younger guy that taught you all these cool methodologies on Google Ads and analytics. We've built an incredible relationship, and yeah, no, it's amazing. It's amazing because you being a lifelong learner, and I think a lot of people get to a certain age where they don't want to learn from these younger guys. It seems like a lot of folks think that maybe they know everything. How did I guess this it's hard to frame this question, but, like, how do you let go of the ego to make sure that you can learn from anybody at any age and understand that there's experts in different fields and different things? I think Michael is another good example too. My business partner, we talk about, things about newer technology all the time, and he's willing to learn from these, 20-year-olds, and understand exactly what AI is all about. So as someone that's succeeded so much in their careers and in their lives, made a ton of money, how can you let go of your ego and still learn from those who are younger than you?
Because the more abundance I have by learning, because every time I learn, whether it's learning and it's for me or learning that I help you, just the story I just told, because I'm a faith guy, God or the universe, whatever you believe in, will pay you back. Like the story I told you when I was 18 years old about the book and what he told me. Again, see how it keeps coming back 40 years later, 50 or 40 years later. This is the power of learning, growing, is your income's going to increase. We all want that. I want that. I know you. Anybody tells me they want to increase their income or keep their income at the same level and not dip, I think 100% of people, 99.9% of people will raise their hand. It's death and taxes or anything. They're 100%, I think, in life. But that's where learning makes it easier. And you know what? It's that curve of entrepreneurship and business can be steep, especially when you start. You've got this big circle. Well, I just came in and you and what's your partner's name? Great guy, by the way.
Brian.
Brian. I was going to say Brian, make sure I got it right. See, this is a perfect example. I forgot his name. I have no problem asking you. You're not going to get off this podcast and go, well, he doesn't remember. No, it's just, I asked. Well, I helped you guys flatten that curve because I think entrepreneurship is all this learning. How do I do this? How do I start this? How do I do this? If you're learning from other people, it's quicker, it's better, and you can share it with others. That's a trilogy I want to be part of every day.
Love it. How did you get into starting your community, your entrepreneurial business community and also your podcast, which now is grown at an incredible rate, over 31,000 subscribers. How did you get involved in those?
Well, and I apologize because I didn't answer your question before that about why I started my podcast. So I'm going to be very humble. That's another thing. Be humble and transparent. You're going to make mistakes. We're fallible. The universe made us that way. The podcast started because, again, this is an ongoing theme. How can I transform people more? And I use this image. If you're watching on YouTube, I've got my hand at my chin level on my beard. If you're serving that level, you're doing good. You're good. You're helping people. You're supporting them. You're serving them. You're transforming them. But I'm always looking at how can I get to nose level? How can I up level my service, my value to make more of an impact? And maybe it's to mouth level, whatever that level is. Always look to see how you could do more. Well, when I heard about podcasting, I was always thinking about doing it, but I ran into the problem of DIY. I didn't want to go on YouTube and figure it out. I didn't have time. I didn't want to make time. And then I ran into Josh Tapp, who I signed up for his program, and October 4th, 2022, I'll never forget the date. I said, Josh, what do I do? How do I start? He said, start recording. My whole goal was to put my clients on my podcast to what? Uplift them, transform them, highlight them, and promote them. And it took off. And then those people started introducing me to other people. And next thing you know, I was doing 5 podcasts a day, 25 to 30 a week, because I had to suffice. And you don't have to, audience. If you're a podcast host or thinking about it, you don't have to do that. I just enjoyed it. It's crazy. I haven't met too many people. I don't think anybody that does that. But it just grew to these incredible guests. Ivan Meisner, founder of BNI, multiple millionaire, very successful. Lee Steinberg, who I mentioned, NFL athletes, to people just starting out with incredible stories. And it was just powerful. And I became good at it. I started at zero like everybody else, but the more I did, the better I became.
So your podcast is called Doing Business with a Servant's Heart.
Correct.
Why'd you pick that name?
Well, it didn't start there. Again, let's go back to networking, connecting, and Tiger, you can see this theme here. My whole life's tied to this. I was at Josh Tapp's meeting one day. We were talking podcasting, and Rich, who I had met the week before, just a discovery call, get to know each other, see how we can help each other. We're talking about, it was called Serving in Business. That was not a bad title. It was a good title. And he stopped the whole room, about 10 of us. And Rich Kozak, shout out to Rich. He goes, stop, Steve. I just met you last week. You have a heart for this serving thing. No, I think your title should be Doing Business with a Servant's Heart. And I'm like, oh my God, that's so great. But what did I do? I treated Rich great the week before on our meeting. So he remembered me, but what is he willing to do? For me. So law of reciprocity happens all the time. And so then I probably have 10, 15 shows that are serving in business. But once that took off, I just had a guy reach out who was on all the major TV stations out of the blue. Email me going, I saw your podcast. I have hundreds of thousands of people following me. I've been on national TV about this nonprofit he's got. I want to be on your show. The title helps. But then again, how you do it, all those other things of building a relationship allowed me to connect.
That. And so, being a servant, helping out others, when even no one's looking, not expecting anything in return. How did you develop? I mean, I guess we kind of already learned from your story that you've developed this mentality and that philosophy. But for someone that doesn't, maybe they're still in the grind, they're still hustling every single day. How can you develop that type of philosophy to do good when no one's looking, be a public servant, help others out, and not expect anything in return, knowing that there's still going to be something maybe greater out of it? How can you kind of develop and shape that into your mindset and ethos?
Yeah. Part of this is fear. I got to pay bills. I'm not making enough money. I don't have enough clients. I've got there's something missing. So I've got to take care of that before I can serve people. Well, this is not a pillar in your business. This is a mindset in your business. HR and sales and marketing and AI tool, all those are pillars that run your business. This serving part should just be part of you. Because when it's part of you, it changes. I've been 50, 60,000 in debt 3 years ago. Be very transparent with you. Freaked me out. I know my dad in heaven's like, Steve, take care of it. And he eventually did in his own way. But I still served. I did 1,500 referrals that year. I still introduced people because that was my mindset. The debt and the financial problems had nothing to do with you, Tyga. I could still help you. And we get so worried about the how, when, or where from our service. When is it going to pay me back? Is it going to pay me back? How much am I going to get paid? That should be out of your mindset because we don't know. But let me make it easy for you, audience. Here's why it's so great. The emails I get, the power of connecting, doing good things is so wonderful. Use this image, Tyga, and audience. Think about you're 7 years old at Christmas. In the morning, it's crazy. You're up earlier than your parents, and you run to the tree, and you get to open that first present. That feeling as a 7-year-old, I get to feel every single day. Just happened today with those ladies I met with. They're like, oh my God, Steve, you really gave us some great podcast. You really brought us value. They didn't even know me. They made me 20 minutes. I hung up that call and felt very good. Whether they take action, that's not my interest because I can't control that. All I control is how I can uplift and help people. So your mindset has to be there, and you want to practice this. You want a trick how to practice this?
Yes.
You do. I figured you would.
Yeah, of course.
Using the name that I talked about at the health club, here's how you do it. You out there listening, you go to a grocery store, you go to a restaurant, you go to anywhere there people are working, either around or that have name tags. Perfect example, grocery clerk. Hey, Tony, having a good day? Yeah, I'm a good day. Hey, Tony, thanks for bagging my groceries. Don't say, how's the day going? And you can say that, but our names are so valuable to us. You got a very unique name and it's different, but you're Tyga. I'm Steve. There's 10 million Steves, but I'm Steve. That's me. And when you edify that by saying people's names, even saying, hey, I think I met you before. What was your name again? Well, Tony, great to see you again. It is a game changer, and it builds that muscle of serving because you really are serving people because you made their day. Who knows what their shoes are wearing that day? That Tony, that clerk, might have had the worst day of his life. Maybe he broke up with his girlfriend. Maybe he lost his dad. We don't know because we're not going to get that deep into the conversation, but it could have. And I'm going to use a great story, a very emotional story. People ask me all the time, well, don't you have bad days? Of course I have bad days. I was in debt. I made bad days. What do you do about it? I go serve. Maybe I volunteer. I'm volunteering next week to give food pantry, or I call somebody, or I reach out to somebody, or whatever. Find a way to serve. So that day, I got out of my office at 2:00, which I rarely do. I like to work 5 to 4, and it breaks in between, but I usually don't get off at 2. And I went to a grocery store. And Jim, I'm in California, and Jim, long-haired surfer dude, good guy. I've seen him before. Hey, Jim, how you doing? And this lady was in front of me with a baby. And I had a calling like, okay, I'm going to serve this lady. She's got a baby, probably good. I'll pay for her groceries. Kind of like that Starbucks thing. And went to Tony, he's like, oh, dude, nobody buys people's, what do you, I finally talked him into it. She was saying, no, I'm good. Just let me do this. It wasn't much. It was $20-$30. And I pay for mine and she pay for hers. And we walk out and she's, introduced my Steve, Debbie. She starts tearing up and I felt really bad. I said, I didn't want to make you upset. That's not the whole goal here. I had not had a good day. I just want to help somebody today. She goes, Steve, these are tears of joy. My husband lost his job last week. We had no money to pay for the baby's formula and the diapers. We're going on a credit card that we couldn't help. You helped us so much today. Now, I didn't know that. Now, it was great I did that, but more importantly, what's going to happen when she gets home? Met this guy, Steve. He bought our groceries, our baby stuff today. He just said I had a calling. maybe they go out and do it to somebody else, and it starts paying it forward, the old movie. But here's the power of that. I had no idea, Tyga, her situation. I'd never met her before. I've never seen her again. But because I went and served, did something for her, I made a huge impact. 99% of the time, you're not going to hear that, see that, or be told that. But one person does. Universe and God up there. They know what you're doing. And I'm not saying you buy somebody's groceries. There's so many ways you could do it. Help somebody with their groceries in their car. You're at a restaurant and, somebody needs a table and you're not busy. Hey, get in line in airlines. Here, step in front of me if you can. There's so many ways that you can serve people. It doesn't have to be large amount of money or big acts of service. The little ones add up pretty quickly.
That story, and I totally agree that little acts of kindness, little acts of servantry is life changing for a lot of people and the person that's doing it themselves. So, two more questions. If you could tell maybe your either your 20-year-old self one word of advice or that yourself when you're just getting into entrepreneurship, that piece of advice, what would that be?
Shut up and listen. I didn't do that. Gentleman named Donnie Bovin, who's got a big community on LinkedIn, and it's a big, he helps people with connecting, networking, and sales. I did it to him. I started pitching him right away, and he stopped me. He goes, "I'm not buying your product. And why are you pitching me? You know nothing about me." He was actually on my podcast, and we talked about that. And that was almost probably 3 years ago. I'm like, I got to shut up and listen and transform. If I knew that back in my 20s, it would have been a game changer because I didn't do that. I thought I knew everything. I thought I had to know everything. That's the way a man should be. You got to be the smartest guy in the room. No, be the dumbest person in the room because you're going to grow to be the smartest. And guess as you grow, your income grows. So if I shut up and listen and ask questions, that would have been beautiful.
I think this kind of maybe might have a similar answer, but if you have one or any words of wisdom that you can tell to an entrepreneur, what would those words of wisdom be? And I know that's kind of a similar question to the first one, but
No, it's not, because I'm going to give you a different answer. And get better 1% every day. You need to serve yourself first before you can serve others. If you don't love yourself, it's hard to throw love on other people. We know that. We've run into people that are always complaining, downtrodden. I'm broke. I'm this. I'm that. And are they bringing value? No, they're not transforming us with their problems. And I'm not judging here because I've learned. I used to be really bad at judging. I don't anymore. I even try to help them. So come in with a positive attitude, but you do that by getting better. Like I said, I watch 10 minutes of video. I meditate a little bit. I take cold showers for 2 minutes. Game changer for my health. I got off diabetes with one of my podcast guests by fasting. That's way that I get better 1% every day. Every Monday I fast. So find what that is that gets you better 1% every day. And it's different for everybody. Reach out. I'll give you suggestions or some podcasts that can help you, but just get better. Because if you start today, it's March 12th. We've got 9 months in the year. You're probably up around 200% better person. Tyga, are you going to make more money? Are you going to have a bigger network? Are you going to
those
be
are
happy?
those are all goals, definitely.
There you go.
Percent. Steve, I really appreciate you for being a guest on the Start to Scale podcast. I think this is an incredible conversation. Doing business with the servant's heart. Give Steve a follow. A lot bigger podcast than the Start to Scale podcast, but really appreciate your time and I'll leave all your information in the show notes. Yeah, thank you so much. This was a fantastic conversation.
Tyga, thank you. And you're a fantastic host.
Appreciate it.